right. Supposedly I'm alive. Um, I bet you none of my infrastructure works anymore. All right. Well, let's see. Let's see. I do have a plan, but everything is slow now. All right. History here, man. I tell you what, Opera has got to figure this out. Like, this is like garbage. Like this browser, look how slow that is. And I've closed almost every window. Well, that's not true. Like, pages are crashing. Okay. Let's just double check we are live. Let's see some Discord. I mean, I was looking at Discord earlier. What happened? Quit Discord. Started. All right, here we go. Discordian. Yeah, I was doing this. Okay. All right. I can't validate. Doesn't seem to have announced any. Oh, yay. Okay. We're live when we say we're live. Been a while since I streamed. Today I'm just going to do a reaction video to a Valve uh Valve thing. As soon as I can find it. It's been here it is, Steam visibility. Yeah, so I have a lot of opinions about this and I thought it would be helpful. This is linked from inside of Steam. This is sorry. Let me get this out of the. I need this window. Close that. Fine. I'll open up Chrome. Much faster. I don't know why. Probably because of Google's unfair practices. Visibility on Steam. So I'm just gonna play this video and react to everything he's saying.
And this is a talk called Steam Visibility, How Games Get Surfaced to Players. Whenever we talk to developers or publishers all over the world, they want to know about how games get featured on Steam.
So I wanted to pick this video because I watched it yesterday. I recently have updated Appleloon 2, which is probably the game that I put the most effort into that is actually launched and is a fully functioning game with many extras. Um, and one of the things that I had to do was look at my visibility just to see like how are we doing, because I never get a payment from Steam, and I wanted to see like how many people have actually looked at Apple 2. It's been out for 3 years, and it made, and I mean these are the brutally true numbers. It made $1,000 on the VCS, and that took 2 years just to launch it. Uh, so I'm not doing it for the money. So there's that. I did a free version for the arcade. I don't know if like 3 people probably have looked at that. But the Steam version is probably doing well to date. It's only done about $200 in actual revenue to me. Actually, I don't even know if that's true. It might be $200 overall revenue because they take 40% or 30 or whatever it is. So it's been a challenge as a developer to, you never want to really be marketing. You just want to be making a game. And it takes a lot out of you when you can't get any traction at all. Like your wheels start spinning, you find, you do it because you like it, but you want it to be a symbiosis between you and the audience. Anyway, without going too much into that, I was watching. I looked at the help file because I had found my way into a panel on Steam, uh, which I won't show you. But basically, in this panel, it's the marketing visibility panel, and in that panel, it offers you like post launch major update 5 times. You can do this special visibility round. And really, this is the only button you get to do anything other than changing graphics and posting to your events. But when you post, if you think about it, when you post an event, and what I'm talking about here, let me see if I can find. Like, this is like, okay, so they recently updated publisher homepages. They just made this announcement like literally yesterday after I did my update or at the same time. So I really don't know if that matters or has any impact on me. But if you go to like Apolloon 2 on Steam, you know, there's the store page. Okay, the only thing, like, you have no control as a developer over anything that's going on. Sorry, I wanted to appear in this. Am I in the corner? I'm not even in the corner. Where are we? Okay, yeah. All right, well, we're looking at the wrong camera. There we go. All right. Okay. And I need to go back to like this one. This one. Whatever. I don't know. Okay. So, this is my store page. Like, how 1997 that this thing doesn't even get bigger than this, right? This is on a 4K monitor. Like, this is the Steam web page, and it's zoomed to 100%. So if I zoom it up, it becomes like now we're at 175. Okay. And I could keep going to 200 on the monitor, but it's now cropped. Oh, that works actually. Okay, so this is my store page. Like, this is my visibility on Steam, or this is the thing that sells. This is the only way that people have to pass through this page in order to sell the game to them. And, this is dismal. But they say, and they repeat this many times in the video. Well, we'll get to that. But, basically in that video that we're watching together, he mentions this user review thing. Uh, and he talks about how, uh, you know, your really your control is over what the game is, the descriptions and the marketing text, which they have some say in because they have to approve the changes in the beginning. And they tell you what you can and can't write when you're launching, which is probably the most impactful moment. And they would not allow me, they rejected it because I said up to 8 players. But right here, it says where 1 player or more because they would not allow me to say up to 8 players, which is like a classic slogan. Up to 5 players, up to 4 players. It's on the back of every board game. And I wasn't allowed to say it in my blurb. And I wasn't allowed to say it in this text either. I had to change it. And then later I came back in and I wrote this because they don't approve subsequently. And I also I added graphics to talk about the 8 players, but they would not allow me to do that. And so, and I'm sorry, my nose is completely stuffed as soon as I started talking. I don't know why it became that way, but let me sit up a little bit. Been sick. I don't know, a couple days now. I don't know why. It's like probably the weather. Okay, so yada yada yada. Appaloon 2. So Dishwasher is another game that I made. And I have had probably more sales of Dishwasher. And I've had more visibility of Dishwasher, which is I literally downloaded the default engine, loaded the Match 3 tutorial, changed the graphics and sound effects, and launched it. With this funny, old school video that I got off of Perlinger Archive. And people buy this game. And there's been a review. What does it say? What is the review? Recommended. Akamai Bot Manager. Like, okay. And then Conky says, this would have been fun, but it's not the best. Has no menu. You're just playing the game. Yeah, I know. It's like a simple. Like, you want a menu? You have time for a menu? What is this for? I do be washing dishes all day. I work a dishwashing job, and this game is the only thing keeping me from hanging myself. I mean, I don't believe this. It might have been a friend. I don't know. It says early access review. I mean, thanks. Obey the Fist. Don't like it. It's a ripoff. Yeah, it was totally. He's right. Anyway, I've gotten more. This game took like a week maybe to launch. It was like the minimum because I had to make the video and all the little graphics and get it working. It took about a week, 5 days, let's say. And it gets more visibility than uh, Appaloon 2, a game that I've spent years on, and there's been a little team working with me, and it launched on several different places. I even reduced the price. But anyway, same price though. You're not allowed to give any better deals than the one on Steam on any other platform. That's part of your user agreement. So let's get to the video. But basically, uh, the reason why I watched this video is because it's in the help files for Steam. How to get more visibility on Steam. And it was in the help area related to this update visibility. So it's back to square one. So this is Eric, I think his name is, and he works for Valve, and he's non-technical.
In this talk, you're going to learn about the discovery mechanisms at play behind the scenes on Steam, which inputs actually matter, and how our philosophy and relationship with customers drives our approach to visibility. All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to Steam Visibility, How Games Get Surfaced to Players. Hi, I'm Eric. Nice to meet you. I work on the Steam business team at Valve, and it's my job to work with publishers and developers to help them launch their games on Steam and answer their questions. I also work alongside designers and engineers to create new features for Steamworks, and I also just think about ways to make Steam better for both customers and developers. I wanted to kick off this talk with our primary goal, and that is to match games with the players who will love them. This is a goal that shapes all.
Okay, I just want to point out that he said the goal is to match games with the players who will love them. Okay? Okay. But listen to the criteria that when he goes through it, that's great to have that goal. But when you listen to the other things that he says, this is not true. What he should say, or what I would love it if that was true. What he should say, or if you were to be more transparent about what Steam is actually doing, is Steam is here to match games that make money and have made money in the past with players who have yet to buy that game and will probably buy that game. That's the truth.
All of the work that we do on Steam. And we also have another goal, and that is building long term relationships with both players and developers. It's really important to us that players trust that when they see a game, when they come to the Steam store, that it's relevant and interesting to them. And these goals serve as a framework for how we approach visibility on Steam. For that reason, we've also come up with some rules. And the first one is we don't sell advertising or placement on Steam. You simply can't buy featuring for your game on the front page or anywhere else.
Zooming has ruined this.
Instead, we focus on showing games to customers that they will find interesting without the ads. We don't think Steam should be pay to win.
Okay.
Not selling ads levels the playing field and makes the recommendations on Steam better for players. It also means that marketing on Steam is totally free for developers.
Okay. He said marketing is totally free. And he said that they won't let you buy the ad space that Steam could monetize because it's ad real estate on the screen. So you can't buy your way to the top of a list. You can't have, there's no sponsored like on Google and Amazon. What differentiates Steam's method is that it is algorithmic and it is based on past performance almost solely, which means that new games do not get, I mean, they have a limited visibility round, but they are not going it. Look, it's I don't we'll get into it, but it's just he doesn't get into too many details about, like, no one's ever going to discover a game that doesn't already make money because he says it. It's not, I'm not making it up. So he's saying that you don't need to work with an editor at Steam. Nobody's going to help you, although they used to. You could call them up and bitch at them, and they would be like, oh, this, I'll see what I can do for you. And they would like flip a switch and you would get a little bit of extra visibility for a short while. They used to do that. They probably don't do that anymore. The secret handshake part used to be true before Greenlight. We're talking like 2007, 2005, earlier days. Not anymore. And he says it happens automatically, which means that it automatically never happens for probably the lion's share unless you super discount. And even if you super discount your game, it's not going to get to the top of the lists that are natural. It requires a user to look for you in some way. Either look for the cheapest game or the biggest discount. Those things, and there's a lot of competition at every single price point, every single discount point. There's no bubble to the top randomly. It is completely based on all of the marketing that you do outside of Steam. So Steam is not here to hold the hands of an indie developer And they make that clear. Not They've made it unclear because they created things like Steam Greenlight and anybody can play, but anybody can sign up and buy a application space for $200. So I would call that not free marketing because you had to pay $200 or $100 to get a slot. I paid $200 once. That's why I'm saying that. It's $100 to get a slot in the store. Okay, now maybe that, and then you have to give them perpetually your revenue. Yeah, it gets almost there's the number of units that have sold and not been returned is 50. The number of freebies I've given out is 27, and that includes curators. And the number one curator for Space Games, who I was a friend with, uh, didn't give the game a chance and killed it. And then he got mad at me because I complained. And then on his Discord, which is not exactly the most public of places, and I was attacked by everybody on his Discord. It wasn't a big complaint. I just said, "Hey, there's this PDF. You should have read that." I'm responding to Driller Joe in chat right now to those who are going to be watching this later when it's on YouTube. But basically, indie developers do not get a chance. Now, you might say, "Oh, well, there's an itch. You could go to itch where indie is," but there's so many free games there. You will never make a dime on itch, and you won't make any money on GOG, and they're probably not going to approve your game anyway because again, you need to have, especially like Switch, some of these places like the Switch store, you have to have sales data to show them. It's a factor. It's not the only factor, but for a brand new game, like I'm an indie developer, I'm one person, and I have a small group. I'm so lucky that I found this small group of other indies around me, people like Uncle Flip who does Skyfrizz, and that's great. He's exactly like me. He's totally on the margin, and no one will ever find his games. And only Atari was able to really give him a chance, and that's only because it failed. If Atari had been successful with the VCS, I doubt people like me and Flip and the Circus Interstellar twins and Soft and really any of the people there would have made as much money as they did because there would be thousands and thousands and thousands of titles on VCS and there just weren't. And that's challenging. It's challenging. I What I need as an indie developer is not someone who's like, "Well, it's free, but it's not." You're lying to me. It's lying to me. You're lying to me. You're making it seem like I don't have to pay for marketing and that basically I don't have to do anything. Steam will just automatically match me with the right people, and that's not what's going to happen. Steam is going to sell a product that makes money for Steam, and that's too bad because there's veritably no other place to go other than Epic Store. And Epic Store, I've heard it's crickets because they're giving away too many free games. You give away, people bought into Steam when there were no free games. And then it became discounted, and now everything is like $1. And, it's okay. Let's not get into that though. We're trying to make money on Steam. So let's go through this.
You also don't need to work with an editor to get featured.
Yeah,
You don't need a secret handshake or know the right person on the inside. You don't need to know me or anyone else on the Steam business team to get featured.
Well,
That's just not how we make decisions.
Okay, great.
Actually,
So that means that I can't. I'm sure they do special deals for like the AAA houses, but I doubt. I probably cannot get in touch with this person anyway.
most visibility on Steam happens automatically. We're surprised all the time by the games that find big success on Steam.
Sure.
Every week, Steam automatically picks up on games that we haven't even heard of, or games that we would have never predicted would be popular. Hit games are emerging organically, powered by what players are excited about. We think that when we get surprised by a game, that's good. It's an indication that Steam is working properly. So instead of trying to predict which games are going to be a success,
working properly for who? That's the question. I mean, I guess for gamers, but I don't even think this services gamers because there are a lot of crap games, but I don't think Apple Tune is one of them. It's certainly a little different. Maybe it is crap. I don't know. It's hard to be outside of yourself. But I know that for being a pixel art game, it delivers on all the promises once you get into the game. You realize, a lot of players tell me they realized that there was really a game there. That it wasn't just, I'm not big on menus anyway. Like the first game I made had tons of menus. And it always leads to some settings screen. And then I'm spending hours and hours working on a settings screen when I should be working. I'm an indie developer who is one person. I draw all the pictures, I make the music or acquire it, I make all the sound effects. Mule in space. I mean, that's thanks for the comparison, Drill. I mean, Joe. Yeah, I guess it is. I have played Mule, but it's been some time. Love the beginning. I mean, love the sounds that you were sharing with me earlier in the day. But it the fact that I have to spend time digging into a settings screen or marketing is there's you know I can't make more game, and then people, once I do have players, do demand more features, and then it takes years for me to get around to them because I'm either working somewhere. Indie developers have very little voice. At you know, it doesn't mean it's not possible. But look at the Balatro guy, who is a millionaire now, but great for him. It did take him like 20 years to do that. And his success does not translate at all to anybody else's success. And that's fine, but you would think that Steam would have some sort of random factor in showing you games. And from what you'll learn from this video, there isn't one. There is no way for somebody to go outside of the lines. They're going to sell you the same thing over and over again based on you and your friends, and that's it.
Success, we've learned to follow player interest. Those are the games that players are excited to get into and play right now. And if we're not predicting, then how do we figure out what to show? To answer that question, we'll need to talk about the two different types of featuring on Steam. Visibility on Steam is a mix of algorithmic visibility and curated featuring. All visibility on Steam is driven by player interest. Algorithmic visibility is personalized for every player. And curated featuring is not. It's shown to absolutely everyone. Let's take a look at which parts of the front page are curated and which offer algorithmic visibility. All right, here we are on the front page of Steam. And the first thing you'll probably notice is this huge takeover at the top of the page for Dave the Diver. Now, it isn't every day that we have a full Steam takeover, and the bar for something like a Steam takeover is really high. It's actually the biggest amount of marketing that we provide for any game. And as such, we have to have really high confidence that it will appeal to a huge amount of customers.
So, translating that market speak, only game that will sell well will be on this page. And that's not surprising to me, but I guess this is curated. So somebody is manually deciding, and that's because they can't have crap appear on their. There's a brand identity of Steam having only the most awesome games, so they have to put only games that have already become somewhat legendary among players, which means that those people were already covered in Rock Paper Shotgun or were already talked about in the press. They've already got a lot of wish lists. They've already launched and they've already got a lot of players. So they had a spike, early spike, and then that sealed the deal. And he'll go on to explain what it is. And for this top thing where Dave the Diver, which by the way, game never played it. Looks cool. Reminds me of the old days of Sierra, right? Looks cool to me. Necess, this looks like anything else. I've seen this game pushed to me a million times. These are a little bit older ads. It's not what's on Steam today. I would say we've gone very 3D realistic now because of Baldur's Gate 3 becoming the thing. Now they're talking about this Clair Obscur. Like, that's what people are playing, so that's what the takeover is. I mean, that's what they're selling. That's what gamers are doing right now. And gamers are allowed to do that, but that's just the big lump at the top. Like, every gamer that hasn't broken out of the cycle is buying that game that everybody is playing because it is good, and I know it's good. I used to play those games. I had to have the game, but I've stopped paying $60 or even $30 for a game because it hasn't been worth it. And you know, Fallout 4 was probably the last one I paid somewhat near a whole price for because I felt like I was helping the industry, and I don't help the industry anymore. And why is that? Because it's not revolutionary anymore. This is not what my parents did. I am now the parents. I am now the grandparents, almost, if not already, for some people of my age. And so we are not rebelling against anything. This is not the identity of it being the revolutionary new form of media is gone. So for me to put 80, $100 into one game, I mean, I don't need to. I have to go and catch up on all the hundreds of games that I either haven't played, that I got on Steam, or that I bought that are upstairs in my collection that are physical games that need attention that I bought because I didn't play them when I was younger and I needed to get the other console that my family couldn't afford. And that's the reality of as a gamer, as my gaming streaming of the stream of games that are coming at me. That's what I'm dealing with. But for anybody under 30 and even up to 30, they're all going to be buying the game that is the thing that everybody's talking about. Or they're hoping that they put their money into that one and not the one that was the one that flopped. The first Apple game on the VPS. So, side note to Driller Joe, the answer is I cannot put the first game, which is on Steam, and I don't even believe works anymore, on the VCS. I do wish to make an Appaloon 3. I do wish to maybe return to Through the Wormhole, which is probably what you're calling Appaloon 1. But um, I'm moving on to a different genre because I don't think that the games that I'm going to make. First of all, the VCS, I need a future. There's no future. I'm getting one sale a month on the VPS during certain months, so about every other month. This update, I haven't seen any sales from yet. We'll see, but I would say more than five, I'll be surprised. Uh, five, five, not dollars, but people, because I think about two, four people, like that would be I'm getting one, two people. So if they said to me that all the games on the VCS are going to be on the VCS two, and the VCS two is going to come out in 2026 or seven, and it's going to have these features, so and it still is a Linux based console or whatever, I would totally be in on that. I would love to be a part of that. I would love it if Atari reached out to me and said, "Hey, you and all these other guys who made games for the VCS, we want you to come back and do a remaster for the VCS2 or whatever." And they gave me some roadmap. They have not given me that. And they haven't given anybody that, and it's because there probably isn't one. And I see that the biggest thing coming out right now is the PlayStation Game Station. I'm sorry, the Atari Game Station Pro. And the Game Station Pro is not. Where were we? Why doesn't it connect to the VCS store? Does it run Linux? Why doesn't it run Linux? If it does, it does. It must run Linux. Is it a very crap? Is it worse? Is it somehow worse than a 2019 mobile chip? Is If so, okay, I guess my game won't run on it. But could we have at least tried? Like, there's no ecosystem. They haven't come out with it. It's Q3. What do you mean? Not easy to get a hold of. The, there's the Game Station Pro. I'm sorry. The GameStation Go is a Abernick that says Atari on it. You know what I mean by Abernick? Like one of those. I wish I had one, but it's like a little console that you can carry around and it runs MAME. Well, those are running Linux or a version thereof, like Raspy. That could run technically, theoretically, it might be able to run a Game Maker game. But anyway, they Atari is not cultivating their ecosystem properly. I would love to be the person who went into Atari and fixed that problem. But nobody there is even I don't even there's like the only job at Atari is like crypto gambler or something. Like there's no there's no opportunity for me. Not only do they not answer back, but they're just a brand that is making at least they're in the stores still, you know? They are definitely making retail stuff. But we're off topic. Back to Steam. I would love to do that. So I will still make an Appleloom 3 maybe one day, but it will not be targeting that. It has to target next, whatever the next thing is. Maybe that's the Xbox. Maybe that's Switch. I have to see how well I do on the Xbox with Appleloom 2. If I can get the same or better sales than I got on the VCS, because you know what Microsoft offers you is marketing. And that's the one thing that a tiny little minuscule company like mine needs is some help. A hand, a leg up, something. I've heard Gabe Newell is a decent guy. You can approach him. I don't know about decent, but I've heard that he's an approachable guy. And I don't know why he doesn't offer indie spotlights. It's a different ecosystem, and it's something that needs its own special solutions. Anyway,
And this section is, as you might guess, curated. So that means that it is shown to every single user on Steam. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we make decisions around curated marketing in a little bit. But I'm going to keep us moving on our tour through the front page. The next section to talk about is the featured and recommended section, also known as the main capsule. This section is algorithmic. The games that are shown here are personalized for every user, and games will appear here automatically. We try to be as transparent as possible about why a game is being shown to you here. In this particular case, it is recommended because you played games tagged with class-based, stealth, combat, online co-op, all tags that I like to play. So we're trying to tell you why a game is being featured to you, and this is really front and center. It's a lot of visibility on Steam. Many different games can appear here in the main capsule rotator, and they will cycle through automatically, or you can click a button to look through them. The next section to talk about is special offers. This section is curated, meaning that special offers like midweek deals, daily deals.
so he's going to continue to talk about how these are the opportunities, right? Like you're already halfway down the page. If you're me, you've already clicked search because you're not going through this. But he's halfway down the page. This is something that they curate, so they have the power to put things there and take them out. And I think that they're telling what he's telling me is that the bar for any of this is well beyond you're just a brand new game or you're a game that is neat or you're a game that needs visibility. They don't give it to the people that need it. They give it to the people who have already shown that visibility equals sales. So you're never going to get anywhere on Steam unless you already have momentum, and they talk about that. So the question is, how do you get momentum? And the answer is, I don't know. People have to like you as a person. Apparently, they have to like the personality of you. It doesn't mean you have to be like a lot of game developers. Let's face it, oddballs, different. Some of them are very OCD. Some of them are nice, and people like them. They have a charming personality, but that's probably, I don't know what the statistics are, but the bottom line is that, you know, I mean, first of all, look at me. Okay, I'm in my 40s, luckily still, and I wear glasses. I'm white. There's certain things about me I can't change. But do you think a 14-year-old kid cares at all about a game that I make? And the answer is probably not most of the time. I would say that 80% of 14-year-old boys, which is the market in gaming, or was at least, for PCs and other things that are not mobile devices, is that's why we see like Fortnite every single day anytime I go to gaming. It's like Fortnite's back on the Apple Store. Fortnite. It's a run and gun. It's a shoot 'em up. It's a multiplayer. It's a first person shooter. There's certain I don't make that game. Now there are other games. There's like Civilization. That's like the one that's like a board game, right? Although it's becoming insanely different, but it is sort of still like a board game. There's that other Civilization game that hasn't come out yet or is in beta, or I saw some crazy video of where it's like blows away Civilization and has like deep, deep, world building and just very deep and totally beyond, not a cartoon, and there's like Path of Exile, right? Free to play with a lot of people engaged. I, I guess I was hoping that Steam would also offer visibility if I needed visibility, because it says marketing and visibility tab. You have 5 rounds of extra visibility. So let's talk about the numbers without showing you them, because I'm not allowed to show the screens, although some people do sometimes show their screens. But the truth is that you signed an NDA. So what is it? Well, 3 years, 500,000 viewers, 0.0015% clicked. So 600 people. That's where we're at with Apple 2. 655 people on the launch visibility, which happened prior to the VCS launch, because the VCS had left me in the in limbo, and it seemed dead. And then it came back, and I made a game, and it got launched, and it made some money. The people bought it, and they, I guess they like it. Only a few, maybe 5 or 6 of you guys have actually come and said something to me. I gave away copies at a gaming fest, and only 2 out of 40 were activated. And one of the people that I approached at that conference was like, he was like the Steam cop. He was like, well, if you're giving me this, you cannot ask me to give you a nice review. And I was like, of course not. Obviously, I wouldn't be asking you that, but I guess he was trying to impress me that he knew that or something. But it just came off as, you're a Steam cop. You think, what are you talking about, kid? Like, I'm an indie developer. You should be trying to support me so that I make other wacky games. Like, that's about it. Like, it's like an artist comes to you and gives you his work, and you go, I'm gonna get you. So the broken controls thing is actually not true. It wasn't, or it is it wasn't broken. It may have had, like, there was a way to play it with the D-pad or some one of the, well, I guess you're right. Some of the controls weren't working as they should have, but Davpa signed off on it. He told me it worked, and I don't think my sales were hurt. I'm not talking about. I haven't, like I said, I don't know what people make on the Atari, but honestly, I feel like I made a pretty good amount of money on the Atari VCS. Like $1,000 was a decent amount, because I know that there's other people who haven't made anywhere near that. So I really can't complain. And I got featured on the Atari channel. The most marketing I've ever seen happened around Apple 2, because there were videos, there were all these different guys. I wish I had done more interviews. Maybe I get to do an interview with Ballistic Coffee Boy coming up. Maybe I get to talk to Yorkies TV. But ultimately, like, you know, that was the only one that really caught on among YouTubers. the one curator, Space Game Junkie, totally threw me under the bus. And I mean, Yorkies has views. The other guys, they don't have that many views, but I still like them. It's like real people, you know? And I think a lot of the internet is no longer really people. I think like there's Reddit, but if you go on YouTube, 90% of what you see is somebody selling you Squarespace and doing a DIY project or whatever it is that you're into that you clicked on that it's shoving down your throat. But for me, everybody is selling me DIY projects, or it's like a documentary about history. You know, that's the stuff that I like. My wife likes makeup videos for a while, and then that changed. But ultimately, they are forming those videos. Like the company incentivizes YouTube videos to be in a certain format, and if you don't follow that, and that's not how it used to be. It used to be a little bit more exploratory, and ultimately it will lead to the downfall of this method. Like I think Twitch, even though it's a small, well, Twitch is sort of blown up and then popped, but I think that there's more innovation on Twitch than there is on YouTube at this point, because YouTube is making everybody into a salesperson. Even Midas Touch, they do their shilling about halfway through the video they're talking about you know coffee that you could order, or like a whatever it would be, 80% off if you click this, like that ruined. I pay to not see an ad on YouTube, and yet I still have to see that crap. And then the number of ads is increased. I think there's problems, but again, off topic. The broken controls, yeah, it's too bad. All right, let me get back to this. I'm trying to focus on this video. Let me get back to this. I've almost
Weekend
made my
deals,
point though.
etc., are shown to all customers on Steam.
Right,
They are
so
filtered based off
sounds like that is where you want to be, but how do you get there? Well, they choose it.
of your preferences. Moving on to the next section, a little bit further down the page is your discovery queue. Now, your discovery queue is algorithmic. The game
Right. So algorithmic. Whenever he says algorithmic, I think nothing I can do. Is there a way I could be discovered through this? Maybe. It seems like I get offered a lot of games of a similar quality to Appleloon 2 through Appleloon 2. But and it has been like you get to pick when you're in your at some point you're don't worry about it, Joe. Uh, at some point when you're in your back panel, you get to pick what games, when you're describing your game, what game is your game like, and you get to pick out of a list. And I suspect that that is part of the way, just like they do on Spotify, that they get you into a discovery queue. But there's no knowledge, like they don't break down in the numbers where you're at, why you're in that queue. As far as I've looked recently, you don't see that. You just see numbers of like views over time. That's it. And where they came from somewhat. And maybe they do say, "Oh, yeah, over here there's this came from a discovery queue." I don't think that's ever happened with Apple 2. I don't think I've made it into certain thresholds. Now they do say that and he'll go through it. I should
games
just let
here
him.
are appearing automatically and they are personalized for you. After that, we'll talk about recommended based on the games you play. Also algorithmic, games here are appearing automatically and it's personalized for you. Okay, moving on to the next section. Curator recommendations. So, curator recommendations are algorithmic.
Okay, let's talk about curators real quick. Oh yeah, Metascore 83 of 100. So Metacritic, I don't think Metacritic. Let me see if I got a Metacritic score. Appleloon 2. Metacritic. So they did activate Appleloon 2. Oh, wow. Okay. And I got generally unfavorable. What did I get? Oh, I have to do it. Well, I'm going to say it's great. Yeah, everybody watching this video, please go to Metacritic, sign in, and give this a rating, because this is the thing. It's like, it's been years. It was released April 1st, 2021. It's now 4 years. It's been 4 years. And they didn't score it. I didn't score it. Did they play it? Nobody said anything about it. They took the summary from my description. At least it's in here, you know? I'm not going to review my own game, but please, somebody go there and give it a good rating. Just please. Look, I have to get 4 ratings. 4 ratings. And I can't even get 4 friggin' ratings on this game. So I really hope. Maybe I should post this. I'm going to post this in the Atari area and hope people. Well, I'll do that later. But there's an example of how, like, so curators. I have Curator Connect. Everybody gets that. It's like a back panel, and it lists all of these people who are listed as curators, including myself. And in that, I have placed, or I have given it to at least 40 of them, and maybe 20 of them have activated it. It might be more like 50 and 20. And only 5 have reviewed it, and 4 of them gave positive reviews, but they were informational reviews. So if you go to the Appaloon 2, you go down here and it says what the curator says. 6 have reviewed. Okay, so 20 have activated. 20 of them, and some of them have suspect names like games for my bro. So you think that you're getting a curator, but what you're really getting is a dude who wants free games for his brother, right? But there aren't that many. And you look at how active are these. You're trying to pick ones that are active. Some of them say like 5 months ago they, and so that's not helpful. Um, all right, let's bop in here. Right. So Space Game Junkie not recommended. Poorly explained, confusing, and ultimately not fun. So he didn't like. First of all, he doesn't like shmups. So he's already in the hole. And then on top of that, yeah, so he doesn't like Scar Scavenger either, which is twice as much, and it's supposed to look like asteroids. I mean, we're making jokes about classic games. I mean, he doesn't appreciate that though, but he loves games where he can, you know, build an empire. Okay, so he likes that kind of a game, but he doesn't have to be mean to these little indies. So he won't ever review any game that I ever do again. So it's fine. I don't really care. He also drove away all of his co-founders. So I don't know what to say about this guy. But then there's informational. So we have you know, here he just regurgitate. This used to be called something else. Now he's renamed it to Sven Evil's Playground. But prior to that, I think it was called like is it what it was? And so informational. He doesn't give negative, so he gave a positive on this game, which looks wacky, but he gave an informational. Um, yeah. All right. So let's see. Uh, More than 4 local multiplayer. That's the curator that was able to respond to my free game and my plea for somebody to please play my game and review it. And uh, he didn't. He just says, yeah, it's 1 to 8 people. Space experience. All this guy does is recommend games that are space games. So it doesn't matter what game it is. If it's a space game, he recommends it. So that I didn't earn anything there. GDWC. This was a contest that I entered. I'm in it only because I was in the contest. I did not win the contest. It took a year. The contest, like I applied, and then there's my curations of my own game, and I was honest. I told people I wrote it. I also gave Circus Interstellar a positive. But I think that Indie Dev Space, those people, the people at IndieDev.space website, Discord, they ought to help each other in this area because I don't know how to market. I don't know how to get any attention at all. I really am not good at it. I've always felt I was on an island, and the thing is that it was easier. A long, long, long time ago, there was MonDB. and there was IndieDB or something like that, IndieDB. And if you go on ModDB and you type in Empire in the Sky, there's a game, and this was my first game, and it got 20,000 views. Look, 71 people cared about it. You know, 2 people liked it, but moreover, all of these people commented on it. People wanted this game, and I didn't deliver it, but I tried to. By the time this was in 2013, I worked on it until 2017, and at some point, your audience moves on, you know, and it's hard because I don't know. I'm in the top third of popularity. I got 40,000 views. Yeah, I mean I don't know. 71 people are just watching to hope to see if the game comes out one day. And yeah, or it might change the name of the game. And I put all sorts of data on here. Like this was a cool game. I want to revive it one day, but this would never run on the VCS or anything like that. It's like a Starship Builder slash Space Builder slash Space Base Builder slash Exploration game. Moving on.
And it is based off of
My point in bringing that up is that that had views. I can't get anything near that anymore.
curators that you actually follow and the games that they recommend. If you don't follow any curators, you just won't see this section. And the next section is
Great.
from developers and publishers.
So that's an opt-in. So this section is curated the best-selling games of the publishers you already know, and you already know that everybody who joins Steam is going to have EA and the Call of Duty people and 2K and Take-Two or whatever and Bandai Namco and Nintendo or whatever, Sega probably, other games, maybe Atari is in there, but probably not. Whoever else is making games these days. Maybe I doubt. Well, not Star Citizen, but something like that. And once you drill through all of that, you're like, okay, so the first 4 on this that he's showing you, they aren't. This is not. I gotta move this over here.
Publishers that you know based off of your play history, and that
I gotta move Joe out of the way. I like Joe though. We're just gonna move. Well, I'm trying to make it. Maybe I can move Joe there. Okay, but you get what I'm saying is like this is there's only 4. There's only 4.
that's algorithmic, personalized, and also popular VR games also appearing here automatically based on their popularity.
Whether you have VR or not.
So finally, we're on the new and trending, top sellers, popular upcoming, and specials section. This is algorithmic. The games here are appearing automatically, and they are personalized based off of your region.
However, I will point out that this tab, which you can't see, is new and trending, which means that
there are a lot of tabs here, and they're all algorithmic. So let's talk a bit more about each one. Starting off with new and trending, this is an algorithmic list of the most popular games that have recently released. It's also regionalized, so it will be a different list depending on where you are. And the way that this works is that when a new game is released and it meets a certain threshold of popularity, it will appear on this list automatically right at the top. And it will get pushed down as more new games that meet the threshold are released.
The threshold. So it probably has to do with a delta over. He said it. He said it. It said, what did it say? Yeah, when they launch. Yeah. Then he goes on. I'm going to skip through this. Basically, then he goes on to say, well, on top sellers, we look at everything that you sold for that title. The DLC, the soundtrack, the in-game transactions, which I won't do. And they take that all together and they use that to kind of determine how to list the top sellers. So good luck ever getting into this list. I mean, it's not that it's not possible for somebody, But for an indie developer who's a single person, you're never going to get into this. Also, by the way, none of this feels like art. It all feels like commercial art. And I think that's really what I'm saying. And the problem with Itch is that it's gone too much in the other direction where it is art, but it's still being sold as commercial art, and it looks and feels like a freebie most of the time. There are games that are for sale on Itch, but I don't know. We've become, this feels very curated, very plastic wrap. So anyway, an indie like myself or like Flip or like Circus Interstellar, they're never gonna get into this list until they're millionaires or billionaires or whatever. Like maybe the Circus Interstellar kids, because they're so young, will be able to somehow miraculously grow their audience to the point where they have millions and millions of followers. If that's true, then they might be able to write a game that eventually finds this list once. But I'm not seeing a lot of indie in this. I'm seeing Apex Legends, Dead by Daylight. I'm seeing the industry represented here. I'm not seeing the independent industry here at all. BattleBit Remastered, maybe.
Such as DLC, soundtrack, and in game transactions. And the reason we do that is so that we get a more complete picture of the games that customers are the most excited about. This list is also localized for your region, and that means that you're going to see a different list of games depending on where you are. So here's what that same top sellers list looks like in Germany. As you can see, it's mostly the same, but there are a few games here that are different and maybe appeal more to German gamers. And here's what that top sellers list looks like in Japan. As you can see, the titles are actually significantly different and reflect what's popular in Japan right now. And just as a reminder, you
Yeah. By the way, I'm trying to mute my own mic, and oh, okay. All right, I've been hitting the wrong button. I apologize. I know that there's a little bit of an echo. So, okay, Japan apparently fires of Rubicon. Well, that's basically a Gundam like thing, but it's not Gundam. Apex Legends free to play. Master Duel, Yu-Gi-Oh. Okay. Blaze Blue Entropy Effect. Sounds Japanese to me. Starfield. Really? Sengoku. Okay. Street Fighter. Okay. I'm surprised it's in English. Maybe he's showing us. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's showing us. I don't know. How? What is he even showing us at this point? Baldur's Gate 3 is there. Hammerwatch 2. Interesting. So that's, again, it's not that localized. It's the same industry selling you the same thing with some slight tweaks. And the German thing is they're not even allowed to show certain things in Germany, but regardless, which is not a bad thing, but regardless of that, it's only slightly different.
You can go to store.steampower.com/charts to see the current top sellers in countries around the world.
Great. Good to know. Is that where that came from? Okay.
Next up, we'll take a look at popular upcoming, which is also algorithmic, not curated anyway. And
so throughout this video, he just falls on curated as being this magical, fair world. And maybe it is because the numbers, he says that they're tweaking them a lot, and that comes up later. But ultimately, it's great, I guess. So, up and coming, never heard of any of this. This is the most random thing yet. How is it determined? Let's see if most wish listed upcoming games. So this is where the wish listing thing. If you go to how to market a game, which is a Discord and a series of videos on YouTube and other things, he'll tell you that you need wish lists and that wish lists equals sales. And if you don't get a lot of wish lists, don't make the game. So just the idea has to go viral. I have never in my life looked for a game that doesn't exist yet. I have never done that. I've known about them because of Kickstarter, but I have never sought out on Steam wish listable only titles. And I don't even know how one would do that on Steam. So it is surprising to me, how do people like Word Factory and Canvas of Kings, how do they get their views? Where are they posting? It's not on Reddit. Maybe it is. But I see a lot of mobile games taking up the indie dev and indie gaming spaces, which on Reddit have lots of rules. Like, even in roguelikes, you get to post your game one time, and they will update that posting, which is the most bass awkward thing I've ever heard. But, I've already posted about RPG 1, which is an upcoming game. I'm never allowed to post about that again on roguelikes on Reddit. So where are they posting? How are people finding out about these games? Discord is not a place where things go viral. You cannot, I mean, certainly certain Discords have a lot of people, but if I were to go on to like Zach Rar, whatever, Asmongold, whatever his freaking name is, if I were to go on to his Discord and I were to say too many times about my game, I would get banned. And it's not like saying it on Asmongold's Discord to a bunch of people is either A, effective marketing, or B, going to lead to anything other than grief, or C, going to help me reach gamers that could care about my game. So I would love to know what people need to do to market when they are at the ground floor. I mean, really, every time I launch a game, I'm at the ground floor again. Where do I go? I don't want to pay. There's GamePromoter.dk. He always is emailing me because I've been on his list for years. He always wants $200, and the last time I paid him $200, he put a press release out that got me a whole bunch of calls from Thailand. So I'm not going to use him. There's no one else. Who is doing this marketing? And how can somebody who literally has zero budget get attention? It's so complicated.
This is really just a list of the most wishlisted upcoming games. It's one of the few sections that the number of wishlists does impact visibility. To appear here, games have to pass a certain threshold, and then they are sorted by release date. It's mostly looking at wishlist activity over the last 2 weeks. Finally, we have...
Okay, that last part, kind of important. Kind of at the end, tacked on, 2 weeks. So, X, I guess, which nobody wants to use, Blue Sky, I guess, But how are you going to get, I mean, if, gaming posting on Twitter and Twitter-like networks is so ineffective because it's just, hey, it's Screenshot Wednesday, everybody respond to this tweet, and nobody's reading that. Nobody who is buying games is reading that. People who are making games are reading that. And they're hoping that by tweeting this person, I mean, I guess there's influencers, and he mentions influencers. Again, no budget. Now, I know there's people out there who might do indie promotions or influencers who like to pick up an indie game. But it seems like if you approach an influencer and you don't have cash, or if you just approach an influencer, things can go very badly for you. For example, you could be the laughingstock of an Asmongold video, and it does nothing for your sales. It doesn't help your game gain any popularity or an audience or thoughtful, constructive feedback. Instead, what you get is grief for the rest of your existence, and you have to change your company's name because you can't deal with him anymore. And that's definitely happened, I'm sure. Now, sometimes it's probably warranted, but it's very, I don't know, and I should, if you look at Orange Pixel, who is one of the guys, in the indie dev space, and also a guy who has done this for a long time, and he does a lot of mobile games. I don't do a lot of mobile games, so right off the bat, I don't have any of that to go off of. But also, he has a lot of games that play off each other. I'm working towards that. I was hoping to create one epic game that was followable, like Dwarf Fortress. That never happened. But instead, I've ended up making smaller games that are echoes of that, and you know, hoping that the next one will be good. But again, I don't want to spend time marketing. I'd rather be making Appleloon 3 than telling people about it. I'm happy to post on my Discord, you know, when I'm done with a session of development, or sometimes burn away my GPU by doing a stream while developing. But that's so boring too. I don't know why anybody would want to watch me coding. But there are people who do watch that in Unity and in Unreal, but in GameMaker, it's just it's mind numbing. But it's very easy to get distracted when you're Twitch streaming, and it's killing your frame rate and stuff. So there's reasons not to do it. I just want to be there grinding away at the game and making something better, and then showing that off. That's fine with me. I don't know. I don't know how to get enough. It doesn't grow on its own, and it's something you have to constantly be doing. So I'm trying to understand how to do that so that I can have it's not just about making the game; it's about also people playing it. I don't want to make it just for myself. By the way, the red color and the coming and going it's pissing the hell out of me here on the camera. But anyway,
Have the specials section, also algorithmic, and this is the most popular discounted games. And
right, the most popular discounted games. So games that have already sold many, 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 many copies and are now discounted because the life cycle has moved from we're upfront getting money to we're just milking all the other people who have never tried it, hoping for the next sale once we have the sequel. Because look what's here: Red Dead Redemption 2, Call of Duty 3. Call of Duty appears here. Why don't they just call this the Call of Duty list? It's literally Call of Duty, Red Dead, Call of Duty Tabs, Tribes, Call of Duty, Fallout, Skyrim. I mean, that's like one section of GameStop right there, and whatever.
they are sorted by revenue.
Never heard of
So the most
Tabs.
popular games
They're
that are on
all
discount right now.
FPS except for Tribes and Midgard.
So how does Steam select which games are featured in those algorithmic and curated areas of the store that I just showed you? We hear a lot about the algorithm.
So he debunks the
second
idea
is
of the
player
algorithm.
interest drives visibility. It's a
Right. So Steam is personalized for a person, and then what I buy, they're going to offer me more similar things, which is the same as YouTube and their videos. Nothing random. Maybe something slightly different. Just says something slightly different will come your way. Anyway, that's fine. Tags, they're important. Let's hear about it.
They're a powerful factor for store personalization, and they matter. They are also user driven. Tags are evolving over time as the community adds tags, and they serve as a framework for how games are recommended.
So I've never gotten a tag. I don't know what this is like. It's irrelevant to me. It's been years, remember, 4 years it's been on the store. Never a tag, only 9 reviews. Nobody's ever picked up the game. Nobody apparently on Steam is willing to try anything new, at least in my view. But then again, well, obviously not, because 500,000 people saw my game, but only a certain number clicked on it. Now, some would argue that that has to do with the quality of the graphic, but I've changed the graphic and it hasn't made that much of an impact. And so I wonder, and I know I do not judge games based on that little thing that I click on beyond a certain point. Like, I feel like it fills the space. It may not be perfect, but I also don't like games that misrepresent with that little, and I'm talking about this graphic right here, this thing. That to me is fine. That looks like the game. That's what the game is. It's a pixelated game. It doesn't, Scar Scavenger has a similar approach to this apparently, which neither of us were recommended. But if you click on this, like, that's fine. It's about what's here. I don't care about this. Like, let's look at something that's not mine. under indie game. Indie, a whole section. Never been in this part of the store before. Never seen this part of the store. Let's see what we got here. Gas station simulator. Huge discount. Antok Blast. Now, what I will say about this one is it does suggest to me a cartoon, but I can't really read this. Like, I'm getting old. I guess it's Antok Blast. Is it? It's Anton Blast. Well, that does not look like an N to me. That looks like a K. Boxes. That one, I know what it is. Does the game look like this? The game looks like that. Okay, so that one's pretty good. That one to me says double A indie. Not a true independent, but a small studio made this. Let's see, who was it? Who made it? Big Loop Studios. Big Loop Studios made Tiny Robots Portal Escape, Doors. Like they made it. They made five or six games. Actually, they made like six games. Looks like they've been doing it a while because their oldest game is super discounted and I'm curious, like who is this company? But save that for another time. So, Plague Sale. Okay. I mean, Plague Inc. Never heard of them. Okay, they do map games. Yeah, so again, it feels like a double A studio or maybe even a B studio because some of their graphics are. But, there's a lot of work here in this kind of a graphic. Never heard of them before. So, but then again, I've never even seen this part of the store before. Let's see what else we got. Blueprints. Okay. So it looks like a 2D game, but then it's actually a 3D game. I mean, I guess. Like Evolved. This one looks cool. Like, this is cool. But it's a 3D game. It's not really a cartoon. Stardew Valley's in here. So here's $1 million property with almost 1 million reviews. Okay. Outer Wilds. Um, whatever. These are the games I get offered. Stray. This is again a double A studio. Risk of Rain. There's that guy. Slay the Spire. I've heard of Slay the Spire a million times. I've never played it. I don't know why it's everybody's favorite game. It's like a deck builder or something. Tinkerlands. It looks like RimWorld. It looks like Dwarf Fortress. It looks like Stardew Valley. It's like the knockoff Stardew Valley. Surrounded is a cartoon survival zombie horror. It's cheap, and I don't think it's gonna last long. I think they've got only 6,000 reviews, and they've been out for 3 years. So now we're in like the bargain basement. You know that part of Walmart where they have the old movies in a big bin and you have to dig? That's where we're at. Vampire Survivors. Just like a fluke. And there's so many clones of this now. Let's see if there's a clone even on this page. Uh, Maybe this one. Slormancer. Yep. Definitely looking like that is related to that. Is it the same people? Is it? Slormite. Doesn't sound like it. It Takes Two. Now, this is not an indie, but I guess it's an indie. Uh, because it's experimental? I don't know. This is on the PS4. Maybe it is an indie. Who makes this? Oh, Electronic Arts. Yeah, that's an independent. That makes sense to be on the indie page. Electronic Arts. And this is where I'm at. I guess I don't have to continue through the video. I've covered pretty much everything, but you can understand my frustration is that every step of the way, they're not really offering anything. They're telling me that it's working well for them, and it's not working well for people like me.
Here's an example of some personalized recommendations that were
Yeah, sure. Based on games you bought recently. Content hubs. So I did get some traffic on my content hub for Apolloon 2 where Ukrainians bought the game and liked it. Actually, they were on the Russian-Ukrainian border. It was weird. Then they went to war. But before they went to war, they wrote a guide for me in Russian and in Ukrainian. They just liked it. Because you can look like a
okay. Let's
cosmonaut.
talk about content hubs. Content hubs are a big source of traffic.
But again, my job not to be a content producer in the content hub. It takes me a good 2 hours to make a good post about Apolloon 2 because frankly, why are you reading it? You should be playing the game, you know? Oh man.
Traffic and discovery on Steam.
Or working.
Sort of like mini versions of the front page, but they're scoped to a particular genre, and they are also personalized.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought they meant community hub, content hub. All right.
Let me show you.
So that's what we just saw. We saw the indie content hub, and for some reason, non-indies were.
Example. So here we're looking at the simulation hub, and it's recommending a game called Crusader Kings 3 to me. Few things jump out.
Imagine that.
So the first thing is it's listing a number of tags that apply to the game so that I get a snapshot of what playing the game is like, what tags are applied. It's also
it compares Crusader Kings to Stellaris.
Explaining to me why it's recommending this game to me, why it's relevant to me.
Now I get that they're both 4K.
So first is it's similar to games that I've played. I have played Stellaris, so it's saying that it's similar to that. It's also recommended by 2 of my friends, owned by 3 of my friends, and wishlisted by 5 of my friends, which seems pretty relevant to my interests. Player interest drives visibility, all kinds of marketing on Steam. And one of the most reliable and
There's that word, marketing.
accurate ways we've figured out to measure player interest is revenue. That's because when a bunch
Okay, that was like the most important statement made in this entire video, is that they only care about revenue-driven metrics. So if you haven't had a chance yet I guess I had a chance. It took 4 years for 500,000 people to see it, and 0.0015 or 655 people clicked on it. Just clicked on it, not bought it. Now I ran the visibility round when I just did this update because it's a major update. I have no idea what to write in the box. I have no idea. They want you to write like a 200 character statement. What am I supposed to write in there? And I wrote, you should play this game. You know, I mean, I don't know what to write in there that's going to stand out. Or beyond that, what is important? Who is reading this stuff? I don't read. You click an image on this thing, and then you look at a video, and then you go, "Oh, that game looks cool." And then you go, "Oh, $4. I don't know. $4 kind of expensive. I'll wait until it's half off, or 70-80% off instead of only 50." Percent off. I mean, that's my game. I mean, maybe, or you're like, I don't know. I've never heard of this guy before. Oh, this looks hokey. I buy some of those hokey ones just to give those people a little bit of support. But that's one of the most reliable and accurate ways we've figured out to measure player interest is how much money they'll spend on it. It does make sense to me. I get it. What about the person who is out in left field and needs somebody to put an olive branch on the end of a stick and say, hey, this game, at Steam, we played it. We thought it was pretty neat.
bunch of players are spending time and money on your game, it's a really
Or how about Curator Connect actually mattered? Or how about, like, they actively, the fests thing? I did the fest. That didn't help. I got nothing out of the fest. Uh, nobody bought. I think I got maybe 2 sales or something out of the fest. It was couch co-op, which is what it is. But people played, Among Us, you know.
Strong signal to Steam that it could be interesting to other players too. Steam's algorithms react to player interests quickly and automatically. And the important thing is it can happen anytime during the life cycle of your game. The
Sure.
most common time is at launch, when a bunch of customers are checking out your game for the first time. But it could happen months later, even years later. We've talked to developers that have had their most successful moments for their game years after launch because of some major updates or other major events happening in their game. And whenever there is a burst of customer interest in your game, Steam will pick up on it. Curated featuring and promotions are earned with player interest. And that includes any kind of curated front page promo like daily deals, midweek and weekend deals, front page takeovers, and content hub takeovers.
But you can earn this, right? You can earn those things that they talked about earlier. The problem is that it's highly competitive.
So, what does it take to qualify for a curated promotion? Well, they are earned, as I mentioned, and it's very competitive. And why are they so competitive? Well, they appear to everyone on Steam. It's not personalized. So, curated promotions are shown to every single customer on Steam. And so, we have to have high confidence that these promotions will appeal to a large number of customers.
Right. So again, this was in the help for marketing and visibility of your game on Steam, and they're telling you that they will only help you if you're going to make them money. So it's, the whole feel good indie thing is not a part of Steam. That is my takeaway. There's more. If you want to watch the rest of this video, the next 9 minutes of Mr. Eric discussing this, go for it. It's just going to grind you down. You begin to realize that they don't give you solutions. They tell you what their solution is for themselves. They're not looking to help you. They're telling you how they help themselves. And that kind of mentality has been everywhere, it seems, at this point. Like, nobody knows how to help each other. It's sad. I don't know. We needed more John Lennons, I guess. But in the end, it's just what about? There's a place in Seattle called a little group of indies out there. We tried to partner with them, Indie Dev Studio or Indie Dev Space rather. They didn't quite glom on. They wanted to collaborate, but there's too many. They're like funded. There's some different thing going on over there, but ultimately, maybe I should reach out again. But how would we collaborate? What would we be able to do for each other? It's just two people at the bottom scrapping, And I mean, I know that there are jams you can enter, but you really have to write a game for a jam. You can't just bring your game to a jam. Usually, there's fests on Steam, but I looked at the fest schedule this year, and there's nothing for me. The co-op fest already happened. I was a part of it in 2023. It didn't do anything for me. So, and should I do it a second time? Will they even let me? I don't know. The next fest, you have to launch your game after the fest, so you have to really be ready to go. And I just don't see that working out. If I went to GDC, that's a lot of money. That's like every penny that I've already spent. I'm already in the hole, but I mean, you know. All right. Well, that's my indie. I'm an indie developer, and that is my response, or that is my reaction to this video. It continues from here. It continues to give you really no help. It tells you that it's, they're. Okay, so this is the part. I'll just briefly talk about this because he does go through the list of things that people think matter on Steam. Oops, there. So apparently, the most important thing you can do, and I've heard this before, how to market a game, localization. So if you launch only in English, which covers Europe, a lot of Europe, all the way to Ukraine and Russia, apparently, and it also covers the United States, Canada, but not all of Canada, UK. It doesn't cover Japan, but I bet you a lot of Japanese people are actually, you need to translate your store page at the very least into these other languages. That's what I've learned. And there are people that will do that for you for a fee, or you can do it yourself using Google Translate or whatever. And maybe I need to spend more time doing that. But the game itself, it would be very difficult to localize to certain languages, especially with Game Maker. Unity, not so much, but still, every message, every everything in an RPG, every word, every menu option to be in 50 different languages, it's theoretically possible, but man, it's just such boring drudgery. Like that's not the work that you want to be focused on. You want to be doing the cool animation or the neat feature, the new item, the new level, the new idea. And I'm not complaining. I'm not saying that those things don't matter, but there has to be some way to incubate to a point where just with English speaking people, you could get enough traction to maybe earn enough revenue to maybe pay somebody else to do that for you, or you should be incentivized to go to these other markets later once you tried it in your own market. Anyway, that's a gripe, but I have done a little bit of this. I guess Spanish matters, I guess Francophone, and I guess Japanese and possibly Chinese, as well as whatever Russian or whatever Ukrainian. It's a challenge certainly I've never Appleloon has a lot of text, but there are games that do not have uh, you know it's just a shmup, man. It's like a number. Do I have to make the number? Arabic, I guess, would be another one. I don't really know. I don't see that a lot of. I guess people play games there, but it just seems like, you know, I don't know. It's I'm not trying to not sell to those people either. It's just you should be able. I don't get it. I don't get it. There's 330 million people in America. There's 4 million people on Steam. They almost all speak English because they are insulting me in English, or they speak Portuguese, or they speak Spanish. I get it, but there has to be some segment of that that will get me beyond 9 user reviews. And then they give you this is what you should do. This is what you should do. We couldn't help you. We just want your money. We want to make sure you're making money and you're making us money. But this is what you should do. You should get your Discord going. Well, I have one. It's probably the most. I mean, I'm not going to have a forum. Social media is like pissing in the wind. Press and influencers, mixed bag, hasn't really helped. Looking for that. I mean, I appreciate every review I get. I don't think it really drove a lot of sales. I really don't. Because all of the Atari sales happened in the first month, and then I trickled down to one after 2 months. And then uh, the marketing stuff, I'm not paying anybody. I can't. How could I? How could I? Local trade shows. Local trade shows. Meetup groups. Meetups. So, what meetup would I go to? I guess I would go to the. I did go to a Pittsburgh video game meetup group and actually ran it for a while because people told me, you should. I met some kids from Seattle. They make games. They worked for Uber, and you know they came every week. We got drunk together. It just cost me $60 a week in bar fees. Like there was like that didn't, and I enjoyed it. But I mean, it's just like you know, it's very local. Yeah. What if you're in like Nebraska? Like, what are you gonna? It's not for you. It's for a New Yorker. It's for L.A., Seattle, Austin. It's just garbage. Absolute garbage. All right. Well, I was hoping this video would be a quick 20 minutes, but hasta la vista. Joe, I want to see your score. I want to see you owning a pub. I want to see. I want you to come back and say, "Oh man, the song played," because once you buy all of the pubs that you possibly can buy, the song plays, and it's an okay song. I mean, I picked it.